All right, hello everyone. Thanks for tuning back in once again to the Queen Ahmadiyyah or to Queen Ahmadiyyah TV, More Than Meets the Third Eye. I'm your host, Queen Ahmadiyyah Shakur, and this is your spiritual vitamins. All right, so as you're coming in, please feel free to go ahead and like and share this video. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Be sure to click that notification bell and click the word all so you're notified each time the Queen Goddess goes live. All right, shout out to all of my Stardusters in the chat. So let's get ready to get into it. Everyone, please get the likes up. Okay, and so we're going to be live on the backup channel right after this because we have to talk about Dr. Fauci. We have to talk about Dr. Fauci and these lies that he's told. Okay, so let's get ready to get into it. Likes up, everyone, please. Be sure to like and share. Now, we're going to first start off talking about 10 subtle signs that your partner is bringing you down, not lifting you up. Okay, and this is according to psychologists. All right, so let's get into it. Let me get rid of these nefarious pop-ups first. Okay. All right. So like I said, shout out to all of my Stardusters in the chat. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. Now, we've all heard about stereotypical behavior. We've heard about the red flags and things that we encounter in relationships. We've heard about toxic partners who gaslight and who give us constant criticism and who are outright disrespectful. Okay, we've heard about all of these things. So let's talk about what some of these things mean. Okay, what about the less obvious signs? Now, the ones that sneak up on you, like a slow drip of poison, perhaps. Okay, the ones that leave you feeling drained, doubtful, and a little less sure of yourself and not really like yourself. Let's talk about those things, the ones that are not so obvious. We know the main signs. Okay, we know the main things to look for, but sometimes there are things that are done very subtly, okay, just very subtle things that we may not even catch on, catch on to. Now, and here's the thing, you don't want to waste too much of your time clinging on to relationships that are not going to be beneficial, that are just merely a waste of your time. You don't want to be dealing with someone who's chipping away at your self-esteem and pouring gasoline, okay, or adding fuel to the fire. So it's always good to look for red flags. And when you see them, you need to really be paying attention because some people choose to ignore red flags, but later on down the line, it's always to their detriment. Please pay attention. Now, the first thing is backhanded compliments. Okay, let's talk about that because at the end of the day, Some people will absolutely give you backhanded compliments. You know, for example, oh, you don't look so fat in that. You don't look so fat in that dress. Okay. Little things like that. Now, over time, these types of heartless comments can add up to something that erodes your confidence and make you start to question your self-worth. And if you're someone who always or already has self-esteem issues, then that's really detrimental. And very often, the people who say these sorts of things or do and behave this way, they already know that a person has things that they have complexes about, things that people are not sure about themselves. Okay, things that make them doubtful of themselves, or if the person has low self-worth, they already know these things. And so sometimes they purposely say things or critical of the person just to make them feel bad about themselves, and so that they feel like they can't get anyone better, so they try to cling to them. That's what people sometimes do, and this would be specifically narcissistic people tend to do these things. Okay. With that all being said, Buckhorst, DC, no one cares what you're eating for dinner, beloved. Okay. I think you've been smoking on something, because that's when you tend to tell us stuff that has nothing to do with what the Queen's talking about. But I digress. Now, the second thing is emotional vampires. No matter how big or small the achievement, they still manage to put you down in some way. Whether you do something great, or whether you make a mistake or whatever, they still give you the same sort of response. So maybe you landed your dream job and they just say, boring, what's for dinner? They just dismiss it. Okay. And on the whole, the partner never shares your excitement, never really encourages you about certain things, and in fact will likely discourage you and make you feel bad. They always manage to slam dunk a lukewarm response or a dismissive comment in there, just to make you feel like it's really not such good news. Okay, these are some of the things you should be looking for. These people are what I call joy-sucking vampires. Remember, we've talked about energy vampires and the psyche vampires who completely leave you feeling drained, who pour all of this mess on you, like their problems, their negativity. They put all of that on you. They want you to be there for them, listen to all of their troubles and woes, but they never have a shoulder for you to lean on when you need someone to listen to you. Okay, those are the energy vampires, the psyche vampires, the ones that try to get into your head, who play little foolish mind games. But now these people who talk down on you, or who offer you discouragement rather than encouragement, these people are joy-sucking vampires, because what they do is they try to steal your joy. Okay, they drain you of enthusiasm, they downplay your accomplishments and leave you feeling deflated and have you questioning your own happiness. Okay, please pay attention. Now, the third thing is highs and lows, and you never know which one to expect. They're unpredictable. You feel like you have to almost walk around on eggshells. You feel like some things that you want to share with them, you have to keep it to yourself, because otherwise they'll just make you feel bad about it. They won't share in your excitement most of the time. One minute they might actually be supportive and cheery. Next, it's like you've opened the door to a whole nother person. Okay, like a Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, so to speak. They stomp around with a dark cloud over their head, irritable and willing to snap at the smallest inconvenience. People who take their problems and issues out on other people. That's what they often do. Now, their moods are, as usual, they're unpredictable. I mean, almost as unpredictable as the weather. And you're often unsure of what version of them you'll get. Okay. And likely how you got to be with this person in the first place is because they didn't show any signs of this. You see, people, like I've told you in the beginning, in the first 6 to 9 months of a relationship being formed, people tend to send their representative, which is nothing more than the best version of themselves. They present all of their good qualities, their kind and humble and thoughtful behaviors, their complimentary talking points. Okay. That's what they do in the beginning for the first 6 to 9 months in most cases. Then later on, you find out who they really are. The real them shows up. By then, you're already invested and likely, have developed feelings for this person. At that point, let me just put this phone on Do Not Disturb, because I'm receiving numerous texts. Now, So this constant inconsistency creates an environment of anxiety and uncertainty, making it difficult to feel secure in the relationship. And in essence, you spend your time tiptoeing around, like I said, walking on eggshells, trying not to get them upset. And some people call these types of individuals the Godzillas of squashed dreams, because that's what they do. They try to kill your dreams. They try to stop you from achieving your goals. They offer you no support. They don't tell you anything to make you feel inspired. Okay. And they, make you feel like your dreams are never going to come to fruition. And so forget dreaming of the future together, crafting up elaborate plans and getting swept up in your imaginations. Just forget any of that, because toxic partners might play pretend with you that in the early days of the relationship, they promise you this future, they love bomb you, they say and do all the right things. But will they deliver in the long run? So a lot of times they lower your expectations, or they tell you to lower your expectations. Like you're just reaching for the moon and you're never going to be able to grasp it. So they say you shouldn't be, why would you think you can do this? You can't accomplish that. Maybe you should try something else that's easier. They tell you those sorts of things. So whether it's building up the courage to attend a poetry class or landing your dream job, okay, be aware that a partner who is consistently throwing cold water on your aspirations, that's signaling that they're not invested in your personal growth and or happiness. A supportive partner always encourages your dreams, and hopefully they offer to help you, to achieve your goals and endeavors. This is what they do. They don't want to rain on your parade like someone who's talking down on you does. And it's interesting because sometimes in relationships, what I find problematic is that sometimes in relationships there are people involved with one another that hate on one another, which is crazy to me. I had a friend years ago who got a really good job making a lot of money, and then her boyfriend was jealous because she was making more money than him. But now he didn't come out and say that, but of course we knew that's what it was, because he had no problem with the job she had prior when she wasn't making good money. Okay, but then when he saw her paycheck one day, because she accidentally left it in her car and he went out there and happened to see it, and then all of a sudden he started talking down on her, telling her, negative things about the job, and trying to lead her in another direction, hoping that she would quit. And that is likely because he felt insecure himself, because most men feel like they're supposed to be the breadwinners. They're supposed to be the head of households. They're supposed to be bringing in, paying all the bills and stuff like that. They're supposed to be the one that has the control of the relationship. Because you see, some people feel that whoever has the most finances has the most say so in a relationship. And so that's usually men. April says correct. Thank you, beloved. So, you just have to be careful, because some people, they cannot help themselves but to be a little envious. And even if they're in a relationship with you. And that's crazy to me, because if you're both working together and building a future together, it really shouldn't matter who makes the most finances, who has the most, has the most stable income. Okay. That's how you can tell that someone's not really for you. They're really for themselves. Okay. That's what that sounds like to me. And then the fifth thing is, why can't you? Okay, why can't you do this? Why can't you do that? So no one needs constant comparisons in their life. No one really needs any comparisons. Okay, so take caution to a partner who's constantly trying to compare you to other people. This toxic tactic plants seeds of doubt and insecurity, making you feel inadequate and unworthy. And a healthy relationship should celebrate all of your unique qualities, okay, rather than putting you down. And they should not ever be trying to compare you to someone else. And there are people who absolutely do that in relationships. They'll compare you to their ex, okay, trying to make you feel bad about yourself or like you're lacking in some way. And these are some of the small things that you need to pay attention to, because often they go unnoticed. Another thing is silent treatment and stonewalling tendencies. Please pay attention. Now, disagreements are a normal part of any relationship, but if your partner resorts to silent treatment as a weapon, that should be a major red flag. Stonewalling is a form of emotional manipulation that leaves you feeling powerless and frustrated. And for those of you who didn't see the video that I did about emotional manipulation and emotional blackmail, please go back and watch. So sure, we all have a little cooling off period sometimes, but shutting someone out with whom you're in an active disagreement, just because you had an active disagreement, and you're shutting them out for days or even weeks. You don't want to answer their phone calls. They don't want to return text. They just completely ignore you. Well, that's just plain cruel. Okay, that says to me that this person doesn't want to resolve the issue. And if you don't want to resolve the issue with someone you're actively engaged in a relationship with, then you can't really care about that person. You cannot respect that person. You cannot care about their thoughts and feelings, okay, or how they see things. You don't care about their point of view, in other words. Now, it prevents any form of healthy resolution and leaves you both in a period of limbo and angst. It's not a healthy way to resolve conflict. It's a way to control and punish. Okay, please pay attention. That's exactly what that is. And then the seventh thing is fluent and passive aggression. Now, see, that's one thing I don't like. I do not like passive aggressive people. Okay, I do not like passive aggressive people at all. They're so annoying to me. Okay, with the little slick stuff they do and say, just come out with it already. Okay, if I did something to tick you off, let me know. All right. If I did something that you didn't like, speak on it, but don't just make little snide comments and, little jokes and giggles and all of those things and do things passive aggressively at the end of the day. Nobody has time for that. April said, me either. It's annoying. Pamela says, exactly. Okay. Absolutely. Absolutely. Now, if your partner is the type that never directly says what's bothering them, but still they take these little subtle digs at you, you should toss out the sarcastic remarks, okay? You should just, basically let them know how you feel about it, because they'll say well, I didn't mean you should toss it out. I mean, they will toss out little sarcastic remarks. And when they do, you should address it. Let them know how you feel. Call them out on their BS, okay? Tell them, listen, you don't have to make snide comments. You don't have to throw subs at me. You don't have to throw subliminals. Tell me what you really think. Tell me how you really feel. Let's talk about it. Let's get to the bottom of it. That's what you do. Communication is key, but more so than communication, comprehension is key, because sometimes the wires are crossed. Sometimes a person can say something and it can be taken the wrong way. That's why it's good to have conversations and to sit down and talk about things. And like I told you before, people love to say that, communication is key, and it's part of it, but more so than communication, comprehension is key. Because if I'm sitting here talking to you in French and all you understand is English, well, we're still communicating, but you don't understand what I'm talking about. You're not comprehending. So where does that leave us? Okay. So the passive aggressive behavior creates a toxic atmosphere of resentment and unspoken tension. So basically it poisons everything. And how can you have a healthy and loving relationship, a high vibrational communication when this type of stuff is going on? So it's like a constant game of emotional hide and seek, where you're perpetually left guessing what they're thinking, okay, and how they really feel. You don't know, because they're not giving you enough information, and they often will gaslight and deflect. Okay, you feel on the edge and like you've done something to upset them. And maybe they're actually upset about something else, but they're treating you some type of way. So you don't know exactly what to think. And then they're not speaking on it. So you have to sit there and play guessing games. Nobody has time for that. And that's also not healthy. And the main thing you should be doing is taking care of your mental health and well-being. And then the next thing is unapologetic guilt tripping. Okay, guilt tripping. Now, how many of these things do you regularly hear in your relationship? Such as, if you really loved me, you'd do this for me. Okay, everyone will judge you if you don't help me with this. This is emotional blackmail. Okay, these are manipulation tactics, which we talked about before. Like I said, I always have to sacrifice for you. If you don't do this for me, then you're being selfish. This is all mind games that people play. And then speaking of sacrificing for someone, let's not forget the video that I did talking about there are some things that you absolutely should never sacrifice for anyone. Okay, and the main thing is your peace of mind. If something costs you your peace of mind, it's too expensive. All right, it's too expensive. Now, these guilt-laden statements are designed to manipulate your emotions and to make you feel obligated to do things that you don't, in fact, want to do. All right. They'll try to guilt you into doing things just to get their way. Now, a loving partner supports your choices and won't ever guilt trip you into compliance, especially if you're not comfortable with their request. And it's not just partners in relationships. There are friends who do the same thing. Okay, they'll start bringing up old stuff that they did for you, even though whatever they did in the past has nothing to do with what they're asking you to do right now. Okay, but they'll make you feel guilty. Say, well, remember that time I did this and that? Remember that time? At the end of the day, are these things equal? Is what they did in the past equal to what they're now asking you to do? Most of the time, it isn't. Okay, more often than not, it absolutely isn't. And the ninth thing is fixer-upper tendencies. Now, does your partner ever give off that vibe that they see you as a project, someone they need to fix or improve? Maybe they offer unsolicited advice, criticize your choices, or try to mold you into their ideal partner. Telling you that you need to hit the gym, for example, okay? That your friends aren't good enough for you, that you could do better at work. Things that you didn't ask them about, but they're speaking on it. Yeah, that says to me that they're not happy with the way you already are, that they don't, in fact, accept you as your true and authentic self. Okay, they want to mold you into something. Why don't they, rather than that, just go out and find the person they're looking for? Okay, that's how you should feel about that at the end of the day. Now, whilst encouraging each other to be better is a big part of relationships and partnerships, this sort of lack of acceptance can be incredibly damaging to your self-esteem as well as your sense of self-worth. And the 10th thing is your gut feelings are off. Sometimes the most telling sign is that nagging feeling in your gut. Your intuition is there to help you to find the way out, okay? So you should trust it. Now, if you consistently feel uneasy, anxious, or unhappy around your partner, it's worth paying attention to, okay? Because your body's trying to tell you something. This person can be toxic, and you may not even realize it because, quite frankly, you don't want to. Sometimes we don't want to see the truth for what it really is. And so in our minds, we make up excuses for the person's behavior just so we don't have to hold them accountable for their nefarious BS, because we just, after all, want them in our lives. And you know how they talk about, loving people unconditionally? Like I've told you, people don't always love you unconditionally. Most people love us with conditions. Under the condition that you do this, or you make me feel like this, or you give me this, and all of those things. So there absolutely is conditions for what most people are willing to do when they claim they love you. So our intuition is often far wiser than we give it credit for. So try and tune in and listen from time to time. Okay, listen to that small inner voice within inside of you. Everyone, please be sure to like and share. Please be sure to like and share. Okay? Now, communicate with your partner about how their behavior affects you. Set clear boundaries and stick to them. Seek support from friends, family, or even a therapist if you feel the need to do so. Consider couples therapy. I mean, if you feel like it's worth it. If this is somebody you don't see yourself having a future with, I wouldn't even waste my time. But if this is someone that you feel vested in, that you really want to have a life with them someday, then maybe couples therapy. Okay, because sometimes people are doing things that they don't view as problematic, even though you do. Maybe this is some way that they've always behaved in relationships, and other people have allowed them to get away with it, not questioned it, or not held them accountable. And now you see this as a problem and you want to call them out. And trust me, they're not going to like it. Okay, so most importantly, prioritize your own well-being. You deserve a relationship that lifts you up, not one that holds you back and pulls you down. Okay, remember, you're not alone in this, because many people struggle with recognizing and addressing these subtle signs of an unhealthy relationship. But by being aware of them, you then empower yourself to make choices that prioritize your own happiness and well-being. You deserve a relationship that lifts you up and not one that's going to drag you down. Okay, please pay attention. And another thing is, these people will try to dampen your spirit. Sometimes they'll end up killing your spirit if you allow them to. If you stay in the relationship, if you stay in a toxic relationship long enough, I promise you, you will start to lose yourself. You will start to try And even whether you're doing it intentionally or not, you'll start trying to change yourself. You'll start molding yourself to what this person is asking. Because if you stay in a relationship with a person like this for long enough, you absolutely want to be with that person. And if you see the red flags in this person and you ignore them, you absolutely want to be with this person. So if you want to be with them that bad that you're willing to ignore red flags, that you're willing to let them just get away with saying and doing certain things and behaviors and not ever holding them accountable, well, then more likely than not, you'll be the same person who will start trying to craft yourself, mold yourself into being what this person wants. And that's not being true to yourself. Are you going to be true to yourself or to someone else? And then what if this person walks out of your life? Then what? You did all of that for nothing. You stayed there and endured the torment. You changed who you were and all of those things. You gave up on your dreams and hopes. You ignored your goals, all for this person to just walk out. And things didn't even have a lasting, it wasn't even a lasting relationship. Okay, so you have to set boundaries and stick by them and not let other people cross them at the end of the day. And don't ignore red flags. Now, if someone secretly resents you, they'll usually display these different behaviors. So let's talk about it. There's a real skill in understanding people. Okay. And some people have a knack for tuning into the subtle cues that reveal what they're truly thinking or what other people are truly thinking or feeling. And when someone holds resentment against you, they typically won't come right out and say it. Okay. Instead, their feelings often manifest in little things that they do, almost imperceptible things. Okay. Different little actions. Now, recognizing these signs before they quietly damage your relationship, that's the best thing to do is start paying attention. It's not about playing detective or feeding into paranoia. It's not about accusing people of things and snooping through their phones and things like that. It's about gaining a deeper understanding of human behavior. Okay, so let's talk about it, because the first thing is they're constantly critical. Okay, they're constantly critical. It's normal to have disagreements with people. We all know that. You don't have to agree with everything someone says and does. Sometimes we can respectfully agree to disagree. Sometimes, even if we disagree, maybe we'll change our tune and start agreeing once we hear the entire story. Once they can make it make sense, and then we may change our minds. But whether you agree or not, it should be done so respectfully. And people don't have to criticize you for not agreeing with them or for disagreeing with them, and you don't have to do the same. So when someone secretly resents you, it often manifests in incessant criticism. Okay, you might notice that this person seems to have a problem with almost every little thing you do, from your choices to your habits. Nothing is off limits. Okay, and the criticism usually isn't constructive either, because constructive criticism is something that's beneficial. Okay, if someone cares about you and wants to see you win and they want to see you doing good and being a better version of yourself, they will give you constructive criticism, but that's because they want to see you improve. They want to see you thrive. They don't want to tear you down. But these type of people that resent you, yeah, it's always about bringing you down, tearing you down, not building you up. Now, so with that all being said, it's also like a continuous picking apart of a person. Like stuff, everyone, please don't forget to like and share. And that can be incredibly draining and make you feel like you're always just, not being accepted for who you are. And like I said, in the other cases, walking on eggshells. And the second thing is they're seldom happy for your success. Okay. They try to downplay achievements. They don't encourage you. And if you put up with this stuff, I guarantee you, when you look back and you realize that this person was resenting you all along, that this person didn't have your best interest in mind, and that you pretty much knew it, but you didn't want to accept it, that you just tried to ignore it, you'll regret it. Because sometimes you can waste decades of your life with somebody. And then, let's look at it like someone who's in their early 20s. And then they waste 10 years with this person who's resented them the whole time for different reasons. It could be a person who chose to be with you on the rebound because the person that they really want didn't want them, left them. It could be someone who's on the down low. They really don't like you because they want something else, but they're afraid to come out and say it, sort of like Diddy, in my opinion. And so then you sit there and you see this nefarious behavior, but you try to deal with it the best way you can. And then you end up wasting all of this time and years, you sometimes wasting your youth, with somebody who meant you no good in the first place. And then you look back and all you have is regret. Okay. Now, when someone can't rejoice in your successes, it's often because they're comparing themselves to you and feeling inadequate. It's almost more about them than it is about you. And here's the thing, something that I saw interesting last night. I saw a video where this woman was talking about she was jealous of her son. This woman said she was jealous of her son. And then what she said was, she said, there's many women that are jealous of their children. She said, there's many mothers that are jealous of their children. She said, I'm just being real about it. I'll speak on it and other people won't. She said, you've seen these beautiful daughters and the mothers are jealous of them. And then she said, in some cases, people are jealous of their children because they feel like they had their children young and the children prevented them from doing things that they wanted to do, from achieving certain goals in life. And then their children become successful and they're thinking that should have been me. Now, I felt like, even though what you said was clearly nefarious in my opinion, I feel like that there's a lot of truth to what she said. I believe that there's a lot of truth to that. Some people do resent their children. Some people absolutely are envious of their children, unfortunately. Okay? But I never thought about why. Exactly why would you be jealous of your own children? Don't you want to see them do better than you did? But if you have children young and they prevent you from being able to go out and go to college, seek out a certain career or whatever, then some people will absolutely harbor resentment, hold on to that. And that will make them envious of their own children's successes, okay? Which in fact could benefit them. But that's not how they're looking at it. They're looking at it like she said, like, oh, it should have been me. So I found that very interesting. Okay, Samantha said, I'm definitely sharing this. Thank you, Queen. You're welcome, beloved. I find that very nefarious, but interesting at the same time. Now, the third thing is they avoid direct communication. Good communication is vital in any relationship. However, when there's an underlying resentment, people often avoid direct conversations. They might give short answers, ignore calls or messages, or adopt a passive-aggressive tone. It's like deciphering a secret code of resentment. Okay, those with hidden negative feelings often use vague language. This allows them to express resentment without addressing the issue at hand. And speaking of that, I saw another video last night. I was online last night and I saw these 3 girls. 2 of them looked like me and one of them didn't. And they were all friends. And in this video, they were all riding in a car, playing music, and they were all singing along to the music. But the caption on the video said, guess which one of these friends told my boyfriend that he should leave me to be with her? And so everybody's trying to guess which one it was. And I thought that was very interesting. But here's the thing. When I read the caption, I promise you, I immediately knew which one of the friends it was. I knew which one of the friends it was immediately. And so did many other people in the comment section, apparently, because the thing is, there was one of them. You could see it in her eyes. If you paid attention, you could see it in her eyes. She wasn't looking so joyful and like she was, really having a good time. The other girl, she was. Like they were celebrating and having a good time together. But this one girl, she was sitting there like she had this little sneaky look on her face. And I said, I guarantee it was her. And so when I checked the young lady's TikTok, because this was on YouTube, but when I checked the person's TikTok for further, to check on her other videos to see who it was the person that I thought it was. Okay. It was the blonde haired girl. And I knew that it was her from the look on her face. All right. That's exactly what I knew. Now, the fourth thing is they rarely initiate contact. Picture having a friend who never initiates plans, rarely responds to messages, and seems distant. You're constantly the one reaching out to them, right? How many of you have ever experienced that? I know I have. Okay, I know I have, and I had to catch myself. I had this friend once that I would notice, that I was always reaching out to her. Didn't dawn on me at first, but I noticed that I was always contacting her to see how she was doing. She was never calling me to see how I was doing. Okay, and when I talked to her about how she was doing, she still didn't ask how I was doing. All right, it was always holidays or whatever. It was always me reaching out. Now, it's not just about them being busy or forgetful. When someone holds secret resentment towards you, they often avoid initiating contact. I didn't know that back then. Okay, I had no idea. Now, the thought of interacting with you might stir discomfort because of their underlying negative emotions. But before jumping to conclusions, it's essential to look at the broader context, and other factors should be considered as well. So, yet, if this behavior persists and matches other warning signs and red flags, it could be a glaring sign of hidden resentment. Just like that girl in the video, it was all over her face. Okay, I wish I had sent that video to my email so I could show it to you, but it was written all over her face. Trust me. And the fifth thing is their body language is off. Now you can tell a lot by reading a person's body language. Okay, when someone harbors resentment, their body language often tells the story their words won't. They might avoid eye contact, cross their arms defensively, or turn their body away from you during conversations. Take note of their facial expressions too. And see, that's the thing, because that's how I noticed that girl, because of her facial expression, specifically the smirk and her eyes. Okay, a forced smile or clenched jaw can also be a telltale sign of underlying resentment. And I think that on the other channel, I might start doing some videos about different criminals, who've committed certain crimes, and just talking about their body language when they were telling the lies. Okay, like during interrogation with the police, perhaps, different things like that, because I am a body language expert. Okay, because that's one of the things I studied in college. Now, I won't say I'm an expert, but I have a lot of information on that. That's what I'll say. Now, but I am a serial killer expert. I've been deemed that by one of the world-renowned serial killer experts. Now, understanding body language isn't about becoming a human lie detector. It's about being more aware of the unspoken cues people give off, okay? A lot of these social cues. Now, while it's not an exact science, it can provide insight into what someone might be feeling beneath the surface, something that they're just not willing to come out and say. So you have to be paying attention. And the next thing is they're quick to blame you. So we all make mistakes, it's part of being human. But when someone harbors resentment, they're often quick to point the finger at you, even for minor little mishaps. Okay, it can feel like they're waiting for you to slip up, ready to pounce at the slightest error. It's a heartbreaking realization, especially when this person is someone that you care about deeply. Okay, remember the blame game. It's a reflection of your worth, but a mirror of their resentment. It's not a reflection of your worth, but a mirror of their resentment. It's important not to let it shroud your self-esteem or to put you in doubt of yourself. Instead, use this as an understanding or as a stepping stone to improve your relationships, to improve relationship dynamics. And the next thing is they seem indifferent to your feelings. Okay? Now, this psychologist tells a story that happened to her. She says, I'll never forget the day when I poured my heart out to a close friend about a personal issue, only to be met with indifference. There was no sympathy, no sort of empathy or comfort, just an uncomfortable silence that really spoke volumes. Now, when someone resents you, they often seem indifferent to your feelings. Your joys don't elate them, and your sorrows don't move them. It's as if they put up an emotional wall, distancing themselves from your experiences. And that's because they don't care about you, quite frankly. Okay. People who care about you, of course, they want to celebrate your successes and the things that you do when you make milestones in life, right? When you achieve certain goals that you set. They also feel sorry and they feel sad when you're sad, when you've gone through grief, or when you've had a failure. Something that you tried to do and it didn't turn out the way you wanted, and you're now disappointed. They feel the same disappointment with you and for you. And I remember a story years ago where this woman said that her so-called best friend didn't attend her son's funeral. Her 8-year-old son died, and her own best friend for years didn't come to the funeral. And then after she got over her grief, she went and spoke to the friend and asked her, why didn't she come? And the woman simply said she didn't like funerals. Well, who does? Let me tell you something. When people use that as an excuse for why they didn't come to a funeral, that's the most asinine thing that one can say. Who does like funerals? No one does. because that means that someone has passed away, okay, and that this is, we've suffered some sort of loss. If not us personally, someone has. So why would anyone like funerals? So that's not an excuse. In my opinion, she didn't go to the woman's son's funeral because she didn't care. She didn't have empathy and sympathy because she likely harbored resentment for this woman, was probably a whole hater the entire time. And that's something that we have to be careful of too, because you see, your haters will sometimes masquerade as friends. And that's only so that they can sit there on the front row seat. Okay. They can sit there on the front row and have a first row seat to your demise. No, right? And they'll usually add to your demise. They'll usually be doing things in the background behind the scenes that you don't know about to lead to your demise, unbeknownst to you. Now, this lack of empathy can leave you feeling isolated and misunderstood, but it's important to know and to remember that their indifference speaks more about their resentment and less about your worthiness of empathy and understanding. And the eighth thing is they go out of their way to be nice. Okay, so sometimes a person holding on to resentment might try to compensate and by being overly nice. So they try to overcompensate. It can come off as if they're attempting to bury their negative feelings under layers of kindness and generosity. And you know why that is? Because they're being fake. Okay, anytime, I want you to pay attention, because you ever think about how when someone tries to be something they're not, they always over exaggerate it? How many of you have noticed that? That when someone tries to be, Gerard said exactly, Queen. Thank you, beloved. Pamela says, yeah. How many of you have noticed that when people try to be something that they're absolutely not, they go overboard? Okay, that's because they're acting and they're just being fake. And so they just put on too much of a show. You know what I'm saying? They just do the absolute most as far as I'm concerned. So they go out of their way to be nice and be overly kind and generous. But this excessive niceness often feels insecure and forced. That's because it is. It's like they're acting a role rather than authentically connecting with you. Okay, oddly enough, if someone is consistently overly nice, it could be a sign of underlying resentment. Remember, authenticity is crucial in relationships, and it's okay to question interactions if they don't feel genuine. Okay, don't let them get away with it. Ask them the questions about it if you feel like, something is off or someone's being fake, or maybe they harbor resentment, or they're constantly critical of you and not in a good way, not in a way to help you and motivate you, but rather to tear you down and make you feel bad about yourself, to try and make you feel like a failure. Let me give you an example. I want y'all to listen to this. When I was in high school, I was very popular in high school. I played on the volleyball team. I played flag football, which we called it powder puff. My boyfriend was like a track star and a football star. He got a scholarship and all that stuff. So I was very popular in school. And so I was the only person in the entire school that was on both homecoming courts. And I also was the calendar queen. Now, here's the thing. I didn't win homecoming either time for basketball or football. The girl who won it for basketball was a basketball star, this girl by the name of Kim Pelkey. And then for football homecoming, well, they said there was a tie. There was a tie supposedly between me and this other girl who was Caucasian. And basically, she ended up winning. Now, one of the teachers came to me and said that the lady who's the teacher that said it was a tie in the first place said that teacher lied, because she wanted Stacy to win, this white girl. She wanted her to win over me. So she lied and said it was a tie so that everyone would have to re-vote. And once you re-vote, then people's votes may sometimes change. With that all being said, I lost both the football homecoming and the basketball homecoming, but I looked on the bright side. I was the only person in the school that was on both of them. But now, however, I did win the calendar pageant out of like over 100 students. I won the cover. Now, here's the thing, though, that I thought was interesting. My so-called best friend at the time, you know what she told me? When I lost, April said she ran track. All right. And so here's the thing. My so-called best friend at the time, Felicia, I had known her since the first grade. We were supposed to be best friends, right? You know what she told me when I lost the basketball homecoming? Because the football homecoming was first. After I lost the basketball homecoming, you know what she told me? She said, girl, she said, that makes you a loser twice. She said, because you lost football and basketball homecoming. And I said, no, actually, it makes me a winner, because I'm the only one in the whole school out of all these students, hundreds of students, that was on both of them. Okay? And so that's a person who harbors resentment. That is someone who is a whole hater, okay, pretending to be your friend. Now, of course, I was young and in high school then. And at the time, of course, I didn't realize that. But well, I did know she was a little jealous. I did know that. But I'm just saying that years later, when we went off to college and things like that, and we went our own separate ways or whatever, that's when I realized that she was a hater all along. And just to prove that she was a hater, she ended up trying to date my boyfriend that I had in high school. Okay, that's what she did. So she was a whole hater. So you have to watch out for people like that. People who don't praise your successes, but they're so quick to mention your failures, to try to bring that up to make you feel less than, to make you feel bad about yourself. Okay, that's all crazy. So with that all being said, the next thing is they exclude you from plans. Ever notice how often, how you're often the last one to know about a group events or plans? Or maybe you're not even invited at all. Now, when someone resents you, they might suddenly exclude you from social gatherings or shared plans. It's their way of creating distance without causing a direct confrontation. Well, I find that interesting too, because I've had someone do that to me. I've had someone who would have parties and stuff, would have certain things going on, and they would invite all these friends, but they would not invite me. They would not invite me ever. But I would invite them to everything. And then when I asked them about it one day, they said, well, you don't know those friends of mine. Yeah, I don't, but I can get to know them. And the thing is, things that I had invited them to was with friends of mine that they didn't know, but I introduced them. So all of this is nothing but somebody who's a whole hater. Reggie said, can't nobody make me feel bad about myself. I know that's right, beloved, okay? That's right, and that's the attitude to have, because like I always tell you guys, whatever somebody thinks about me, however they feel about me, that's none of my business, okay? And so what you can't do is tell me things. And see, this goes back to what I said days ago, Reggie, now that you brought that up. I was talking about remember how when I was going in on Bussy Reek, and then his minions would come into the chat on the other channel, and they would be trying to disparage me and saying things, throwing insults, and I would just laugh. I laugh because, first of all, I don't care what they think. They're irrelevant. How do they impact my life? I don't even know them in real life. So I didn't care what they thought or felt. The only people that I care about as far as, what they think of me is people that I care about. And if I don't care about you, then what you have to say means nothing. Okay, so it doesn't affect me at the end of the day. And that's the way we all should feel. And here's the thing. Like I always tell you too, it's about self-esteem, not what everybody thinks of me esteem. You're supposed to care more about how you feel about yourself and what you think of yourself, rather than allowing other people to dictate the narrative of your life and tell you how you should feel and trying to make you feel bad about yourself. So the next thing is they're passive aggressive. Now, the hallmark sign of hidden resentment is often passive aggressiveness. Okay, it's the understood comments. It's the just kidding jabs. It's the backhanded compliments. These behaviors are designed to hurt you without the person openly expressing their negative thoughts and feelings. Do you all remember the story I told you about these 3 beautiful young ladies? Well, actually, I think there was like 5 of them. There was these 5 beautiful young ladies. They were from India, and they were all taking a photo shoot together. And one of them that was really pretty, she was in the front and in the center. And this other girl reached over right before the cameraman took the photo and snatched off her eyelash, one of her eyelashes, and started laughing like she was joking. She wasn't joking. She was a whole hater. She did that on purpose because she felt like that girl looked better than her. That's why she did it. But see, that's what they do. They do things under the guise of, oh, I was just playing. Calm down. It was just a joke. No, it usually isn't a joke. Okay. And one thing that my mother taught us when we were growing up, and she said to never let people say things that, are meant to embarrass you or make you feel bad and then simply laugh it off like they were just playing. Or don't let people put their hands on you in a joking way, because sometimes they're sizing you up. Okay. Seeing if they can get away with it. So that's one thing that I've never done. Okay, so this is what people do when they're passive aggressive, sitting back, watching and waiting, and they really have this hatred for you that they're trying to hide. Passive aggressiveness is a coping mechanism for people uncomfortable with direct confrontation, but it can be incredibly damaging to relationships and lead to a toxic environment. Okay, I want you all to pay attention. And if you notice, the talking points that I'm giving you for both of these different scenarios are quite frankly the same. They're quite frankly the same because these two things go hand in hand. That's why I'm mentioning them at the same time. The first thing we talked about was the 10 subtle signs that your partner is bringing you down, not lifting you up. And now we're talking about people who resent you. Do you notice how all of these things, it's 10 things that you should notice about people who harbor resentment? Well, in both cases, it's the same type of thing. It's the constant criticism. It's the not celebrating your joys, your highs, but always pronouncing or, putting emphasis on your lows. It's about the not having empathy. It's about not encouraging you. Do you see how these things all work together? This is all like the same type of stuff. It's about passive aggressiveness in both scenarios, whether it's a partner, who's resenting you or just trying to talk down on you, or it's a friend or someone else who's just harboring resentment. They have almost the same playlist. Okay, I want you to pay attention. Now, it's the underhanded comments, the just kidding jabs, the backhanded compliments. These behaviors are designed to hurt you without the person openly expressing their negative feelings. Passive aggressiveness is a coping mechanism for people uncomfortable with direct confrontation. You know what that means? They're cowards. You see, I would appreciate and respect the person more that just came out and told me how they felt. No, I don't like you, and I wish you'd get out of my face. I'd prefer for someone to tell me that, harsh though it may be. I'd rather for you to say that so that I can get the hell out of your face. If you don't like me, let it be known. But don't sit there and pretend that you do, and then you want to smile in my face and you really can't stand me at all. Okay, that's what I don't respect. Those people are cowards, and they do little slick, underhanded things and throw subliminals. Now, but it can be incredibly damaging to relationships and lead to a toxic environment. It's about understanding, not blame. Okay. And so in conclusion, identifying hidden resentment through actions is crucial for maintaining healthy relationships. You don't want to be in a toxic relationship, whether it's an intimate relationship or someone that's supposed to be a friend, a coworker, whomever. You don't want to deal with that, and you shouldn't have to. Often people won't explicitly express their negative feelings, but instead they manifest through subtle behaviors. Recognizing these signs allows for addressing underlying issues before they escalate. By paying attention to cues like avoidance, passive aggressiveness, or excessive niceness, you can identify areas of tension and work towards a resolution. Okay, this awareness promotes trust, authenticity, and ultimately strengthens the bonds between people. All right. Reggie said, I keep my emotions on my sleeve. Okay. Well, Reggie, I think that most people that look like us absolutely do the same, beloved. That's what I think. So that all being said, I hope you all enjoyed this and got something out of it. And if you have not been practicing your 3-6-9 method, you should be. Please get started on that. Try it for at least 21 days. Okay, please try that. Okay, it's very powerful and effective for meditation and manifestation. Okay, and then I want you all to give me testimonials. Those of you who actively do it, I want you to let me know if it worked. If you, in fact, saw an improvement, if you meditated more often and got more out of it. And if you, in fact, manifested things that you want, okay? So make sure you're doing these things, because I'm not just sitting up here telling you these things just to be telling them. We have to actively be using these things to grow spiritually. These things will help us along our spiritual journey. Okay, so with that all being said, I love you all to life. And again, I'm going to be live on the backup channel right after this. I mean, literally right after this. Okay, I think I set it for like 2 o'clock and it's like 4 after. So let me get the link. Or Desmond, could you please drop the link to the backup channel for the next live? Could you please drop the link for the next live in the chat, beloved? Thank you kindly. And I want to thank you all for tuning in once again. And listen, we are going to have trivia this Friday. We didn't have it last week, but we're definitely going to have it this week. Everyone's saying thank you. You're welcome, beloveds. I appreciate you. Okay, so with that all being said, we'll be back on here tomorrow. I'll be going live on here tomorrow. And for the members, I'm going to upload something for you guys probably later on this evening. If not later on this evening, it'll be first thing in the morning. So with that all been said, I love you all to life. Each one teach one. That's how we grow and thrive. Do something productive and constructive, but never destructive. And always remember, beloveds, to keep the Most High first in your lives.